I don't think we were. I mean, we showed that. We beat the champions in the end. He's calm on the ball, happy to play sort of out the back, as well as getting quite a few goals as well. I think in Div 1 you maybe have a little bit more time on the ball. I had my book out and I was watching videos or sort of coming up with ideas on what we can do within the Thursday session. I mean, we'd only had played the game on Saturday and by Monday I'm already thinking
never
about
stopped,
training.
never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 2 and today I'm here with Bradley from Stoke Poachers FC. Bradley, if you just want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Bradley. I was a player for the Poachers for the last 2 seasons this year. I took the role of the assistant manager and that's it really.
Fantastic mate, no problems. And yeah, what we're going to do today is have a little chat about the life of a coach at this level of football and also the ups and downs of it, and yeah, just get more of an insight of what happens on a Saturday afternoon from a coach's point of view. So yeah, welcome Bradley, thank you for today, and thanks for your time. So yeah, just a little bit, first of all, is basically how did it come about that you become a coach for Stoke Poachers?
It was a couple of reasons really. Sort of last season, if I sort of went on the pitch, then I was sort of helping Scotty in the dugout. Just with sort of decisions he was struggling with, he would sort of asked me if I was there by his side. And then before the season started, we was obviously playing pre-season friendlies, and he sort of just turned around and said, "Look, do you want to come and join me and just sort of help me out and be on the side of me?" And I said, "Yeah."
Fair enough. And is it something that you aspired to do, or was it something that was done before?
It's something that I was doing a couple of seasons ago. I had my own youth team with another friend. We sort of set up a team and really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, a couple of our players sort of didn't show up or wasn't playing, so we had to fold the team. But ever since I stopped doing it, it was something I wanted to try and get back into as quickly as possible.
Okay. And also that was a youth level of football.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And obviously you've played for us for a couple of years at Stoke Poachers, and now you've stepped into a management role or the coaching role. How have you found that?
Yeah, really enjoying it. I mean, we've got a good group of lads here, so which always makes it a bit easier. But yeah, more than anything, I am honestly really enjoying it.
Have you found that they take instruction from you well, to be quite honest? Because obviously that's something that you've been one of their peers as such beforehand and quite integral part of the team, and now you're like potentially barking orders at them. How do they feel about that?
No, yeah, they're pretty good to be fair. I mean, I sort of was helping, I wasn't the captain, but I think people sort of knew that I was in a way. So I had the sort of leadership there anyway, in which sort of people would sort of listen to, and otherwise they got a fine.
Yes, you're quite infamous for your fines list.
Yeah.
You collect quite a few bits of money over the last couple of seasons. What's it? Probably total around 600 in 2 years.
Don't get on the wrong side of me.
Yeah, fair play, yeah. So coaching wise, obviously you coached at a youth level. I mean, does that have transferable skills into adult football or different?
There is similarities to it. Obviously, still trying to train guys on certain things that you pick out that maybe they can improve on. I think with sort of the adults, you can go into a bit more detail with certain setups, like set pieces and things like that. You can sort of come up with different drills that you can do, that you can take into a game. Whereas sometimes it's a little bit harder with sort of a youth setup, with the sort of, that has really put me off. Sort of just their sort of attention span more than anything.
Yeah, like yours is with that line.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's probably easier more than anything having sort of an adult team.
Okay, and obviously you started probably beginning of pre-season with that. How's pre-season gone so far?
Yeah, it's sort of only sort of played off of matches so far. We've got back into training over the last couple of weeks, but during the matches it was good intensity. Sort of me and Scott both getting points across that we sort of want to see from the lads. seeing how we want to play and actually try and get a style of play moving forward.
Okay, fair enough. And what's your ultimate goal in terms of coaching for this season, for instance? Is there any particular goals that you got?
The goal would be to try and win something. We've been close, sort of the semi-final last year, and we fell just short. A couple of seasons ago, we was trying to push up the league. Obviously, last year we were pushing up the league, and then obviously certain things happened, and we got moved leagues and all of that. But yeah, this season is definitely trying to win some silverware.
So you just mentioned there we got to a semi-final last year, and you say we fell short. I mean, obviously you're now part of that coaching decisions, for instance. I mean, what would you have done different last year in terms of that semi-final? Would you have tried, what tactically would you have tried to do?
I don't know. It was a tough one on the day to sort of try and sit there and work out what actually went so badly wrong. I just think it was one of those things where it just wasn't our day. This season we've brought in some players that I think are going to really help us out. We've got people in positions that I think we were sort of weak last season, whereas this season we're looking strong.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So obviously last week you started the season, you played ASA Reading, so it's probably been your first real chance to have any influence on the game at all, and it's a game that you come away and won. Is there anything that you did last week that you feel that you made an influence? Was it, talk to Scott about anything?
Yeah, Scott's pretty good, to be fair. I think he knows he can rely on me. If he's sort of struggling with certain decisions, he does trust me, and he knows what sort of point I'm trying to get at. I mean, we were playing a 4-4-2 to start with last week. The pitch wasn't the best, which obviously you're going to expect at sort of our standard, so we can't keep using that as excuses. But we just sort of needed to tighten up a little bit in midfield, just to sort of try and keep the ball, really. We went 1-0 up, and then we sort of conceded a sloppy goal, and we got another goal before half-time. And then sort of from there we said, look, let's maybe change formation, trying to look to strengthen us a little bit. And so I sort of just suggested maybe going to a 4-2-3-1, which is a formation we're used to anyway. It's only sort of this pre-season where we've really gone with a 4-4-2. And so we said, look, should we just go back to what we sort of know? And that's like the 4-2-3-1, and we come out with the result.
Good stuff. And obviously you say you started at a 4-4-2 as opposed to a 4-2-3-1 or whatever you had. What influenced the decision to go to that 4-4-2 in the first place? Is it something that you were involved in? Or
it's not something I was involved in. It's something Scott said. With a 4-4-2, sort of every player knows what's expected of them. And again, it's something with the players that have come in, it's allowed us to play that formation. With the two in midfield, we need people that are going to be able to work on and off the ball. And we've got a couple of players that really can do that now.
Alright, okay. And so as a squad, obviously been pre-season, obviously I've seen things going on in terms of a couple of new players coming in. What was your main aim for the season this year? Were you looking to just get lots more numbers in, or was there actual specific requirements that you had, and if there were, did you fulfil them?
It wasn't so much getting numbers in, but it was, if we're going to get numbers in, let's make sure we're getting the right people in. I mean, with our level of football, it's obviously not going to be the best level, but we're trying to make our team to be at that best level to, as I said before, go and try and win some silverware.
Okay, no problems. And obviously you mentioned that you had coaching before with kids and such like. How did that come around? I mean, obviously you're not that old, Bradley. I can see you're not a very old man. I'm assuming you haven't got kids from age 13. No. So how come you got involved with it?
It was just a younger team. It was an under-7s team. It was sort of something I've done with my sister's boyfriend. He sort of took a team on, and he asked me to go and help him. And then I was sort of doing coaching drills with them, and it was something I sort of just took on board, and we stuck together through it. Went and done it, and like I say, just unfortunately, a couple of players got scouted, and it sort of disrupted the team, as well as obviously players leaving as well.
Alright, so obviously they're getting scouted, you must have had a decent setup and such like that.
Yeah, there was one stand-up kid. Look, he was already good before he came into our path.
Oh, you're not going to take it straight.
I know you would.
Too right. So obviously, from that, you come and joined us, started playing football a couple of years ago, settled in really well into the squad. Infamous fines list up in your beard, where we've probably collected more money than a national debt. How do you think the players have felt with you being one of the lads to suddenly becoming one of the management coaching staff team? Have they?
We tried to keep it the same, really. It's not me sort of changing my personality or changing how I am with them. It's more me trying to just give sort of instructions to them, which is something I was doing on the field anyway when I was playing. From myself, it's not me trying to sort of change who I am or anything like that. It's the lads still being able to come and speak to me if they've got problems or if they feel like they need to work on something themselves, then they know they can sort of speak up about it.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So last week, AFC Reading, you come away with a 2-1 win. What was that like? Was it a good game? Did go as expected?
Like I said, it wasn't the best pitch. We're trying to build up a team that we become sort of a keep ball team, plenty of work off the ball. We want to become a real work hard team. Sort of last season we spent a lot of the time off the ball. We was doing a lot of pressing and chasing the game. Whereas this season we feel with sort of the league we can be the team that are keeping the ball. And when we haven't got it, we should be able to get it back pretty quick. And then it's trying to keep the ball again. That was our sort of style of play. We were trying to go into the game. The pitch was hard to try and do that. So in the end, it's shown a way of us being able to grind out a result as well, which was pleasing, really.
Oh, Sammy, make sure.
Yeah! That's right. Brilliant. That's what you've got to do. Well done, mate. Well done. Right, well done. Ash, Chris, Tony, well done. All three of you there.
Come on. Oh shit.
Yeah! Well done, Ben! Drive, Ty, you're there, you're on your own! You're on your own! Sammy, get in the box! You would get in the back! At the back, you in! Here you go! Yes!
It's fucking that easy. It's that easy.
Back post, Ty!
That's the ball.
Pull in! Yes, Ty! Yes, John! Yes! Time! Yes!
So we just seen some highlights from last week, and you're right. It was a very popular, horrible pitch, that's for sure. A very small one by the looks of it. When you see something like that, do you actually think you look at a pitch and think, right, we might have to change this? Would that pitch influence you at all?
But obviously going into the game, we were sort of just going to try and keep playing the way we was playing. Like I said, we went with a 4-4-2, tried to sort of go at their goal, and then, like I say, it wasn't working. Me and Scott were sort of speaking, like leading up to half time. We made a couple of changes at half time straight away because we knew it wasn't working in that first 45. So we tried to obviously change the formation, and that made us a lot stronger. I know there was obviously no goals sort of for either team in that second half, but we found a way to win.
Yeah, that's something I was just going to ask you actually, quite honest, because obviously you see there are highlights. There was obviously a couple of goals in there as such beforehand, and obviously give away a goal as well. So someone feel that your first half was probably stronger than your second half in lots of ways, but you seem happier with the second half. Why
yeah, definitely, because the first half we got the 2 goals, but I mean there was chances in there where we should have had probably a few more as well. And even in the second half there were still chances where we can finish the game off. But I felt like in the first half we allowed them maybe a lot more sort of chances than what we should have. We sort of backed off them a little bit and probably showed them a bit too much respect more than anything. Whereas second half we were a bit more in their face. We sort of was moving up the pitch. We wasn't just dropping off and allowing them to come onto us.
Okay. And obviously, again, last week you were 2-1 winners as such on there, and you held on at the end. We obviously tried to send everything up the pitch, so to speak. Is there anything in that last 5 minutes? You know, how would you calm players down in that situation? Because obviously it seemed a bit panicky. Was there anything you can say, or was there anything you do? Or?
Just sort of on that, it was really pleasing to see that with 5 minutes to go, there was generally people throwing their body in front of the ball, trying to make sure we got the 3 points. And that's something we've probably been guilty of over the last few seasons, is we haven't sort of got that sort of badness about us where we want to just go in and put that sort of tackle in to sort of really set the standard. Whereas in that game, I think we did, and like I say, especially the last sort of 5-10 minutes, we were putting in our challenges. Anything around the box was just getting blocked.
Oh, fantastic. And obviously last season we were in the Prem, last season, mixed reactions. That obviously got relegated in the end, come bottom of the league and got relegated. As such, do you think we were actually the worst team in that league?
I don't think we were. I mean, we showed that. We beat the champions in the end. So we've shown that we can play our stuff and play good football. I mean, even in that game when we beat them, we were really in that game. That wasn't just no fluke. We played our stuff, and sort of in that game, if we was to watch that back, that's sort of the way we want to play. We want to be a team that sort of is calm on the ball, happy to play sort of out the back, as well as getting quite a few goals as well.
Okay, and so obviously last season, for those who don't know, it was also a little bit of a disappointing scenario there. I think we started the first 6 games off as a Division 1 side, and the league in their wisdom put us up into the Prem for a few internal politics through the league and obviously ourselves. Do you now look back on that and actually think it was a good thing that happened to us?
Yeah, because it's shown that we can be a team that can do the sort of nasty work. We're doing the chasing of the ball, and now sort of going back into Div 1. Obviously we was winning games last season before we went into the Prem, and we was a team that was comfortable on the ball. In a way we sort of lost that side of the stuff when we went into the Prem, because we was, like I said, we were doing a lot of chasing of the ball, and it was other teams having the possession. But hopefully now we can change that, where we can be that possession team, and when we haven't, we know we can work hard. We know we can get that ball back as well.
I mean, obviously you were a player last year, and obviously when moving up into that Prem, was it that big a jump?
When you're playing, it doesn't feel like it, but I think when you watch it back and you sort of see sort of certain videos, I think in Div 1 you maybe have a little bit more time on the ball, whereas Prem is obviously the better players sort of around our area. They are going to hunt the ball back as much as we were trying to hunt the ball back as well. You don't sort of, you've got that split second to sort of try and find the pass, whereas Division 1 seems to maybe sit back a little bit more, so you've got a couple more seconds to think about what you're doing.
Okay. And obviously, before we move on from the Prem side of it, as you say, you beat Brickwell last year. He's obviously a notable scout as such, but other teams in there, do you feel that you got competitive towards the end, or was it?
Yeah.
What was the missing ingredient?
Have
you addressed that this year?
Yeah, a big factor of it was maybe we didn't score enough goals. We were maybe overthought certain situations where we were backing off teams and allowing them to come onto us rather than us trying to be on the front foot. Especially at our home ground, we sort of know how it plays with the bubble and things like that. We're trying to get used to that, and I think we have. So maybe we didn't make enough of an advantage of being the home team sometimes, and we allowed teams to sort of settle down.
So obviously this year in Division 1, there seems to be a lot of teams from Reading. There's a couple of unknowns, one of which we played last week at AFC Reading. Reading Tigers are in our league, who seem to have been doing really well. They were beaten by, I think, Old Windsor Reserves last week, 3-2.
Yep.
One of our ex-players got the winning goal for him, Mark. Shout out to Mark.
Cody will be happy with that.
Yeah. Who do you see do you see us as title challengers? Have we turned it around that much? And if so, do you think that we've got the capabilities of doing it?
I think you've got to put us up there as a title challenge, really, especially with the start we had last season. Like you said, the first sort of 6 games, we were unbeaten by one. I think we lost 1 game in our first 6, and we were sort of top of the table before getting pushed up into the Prem. So we know we're capable of being up that sort of top end of the table. It's just obviously making sure we keep the guys like turning up, wanting to play and wanting to fight for everything, and not just turn up and think we're going to walk teams over this year.
Good, and also it's part of a coach's job.
Yeah.
So how do you address that? Because I know one thing that Scott was telling me last year, he felt that sometimes in the changing rooms, doing the team talk, he felt sometimes maybe a little bit stale when players weren't listening to him, because it is sometimes repeatable what you say. How do you think you've come in and freshen it up?
It's just it's like seeing it from sort of 2 perspectives. That Scott sees it one way, and sometimes I can see it a completely different way. And it's like finding that bit in the middle where we sort of both say sort of similar things to make it sort of work. Where we are sort of, if we are either end sort of seeing a game, how we get into the middle and sort of get that across to the players.
Good stuff. This season, I mean, I don't know what you know of the teams that we've got lined up for the year, but who do you think, if you're saying that we're up there, who do you think are going to be the challenges? In terms of other teams in the league, and any newcomers that you think will stand out?
Yeah, there's a couple of new teams this year, so it's obviously see when we play them, and obviously hopefully we can get results against these new teams and before they get a chance to see what we're about. But one sort of eye-catcher is, like you say, Old Windsor probably is going to be a team that's up there with us as well.
Okay. Obviously a few old players that play at Old Windsor that we know. Does that make a relevance though? When you go into the game on Saturday and you think, oh right, we've got one of our old colleagues there, do we go and smash him in the first 5 minutes, or do we just play him as we normally would do?
We need to be sensible as well. We can't go into that's going to be a big game, as you say, but we can't go into it and start giving away silly fouls or getting silly bookings or anything like that. So it's making sure we stick to our game plan when it comes to that game, and like I say, making sure we're focused and we're ready with what we want to do.
Okay. And obviously this year we have got a few new players coming as such. And how's that as a squad? How do you keep a squad happy? I mean, I noticed, and it always is at the beginning of the year, you had 6 or 7 players on the sidelines as such, and probably a couple that were. What happens in the darkest days of November and such? How do you keep motivation around your players?
It's one thing I've always said about this team is you see certain teams that sort of turn up with 12 or 13 maximum on a week. We're a team that turns up with 16 week in, week out. We are really a team. We enjoy each other's company. We all come to football obviously wanting to win, but we're a team that also loves turning up and meeting each other for that Saturday and making sure we're up for it and ready.
Is there anything, I don't know what you know of the teams that we've got lined up for the year, but who do you think are going to be the challenges? I suppose that you think that you'll do differently this year that Scott never did? Is there any specific ones?
The one that stands out is sort of going back into training. It's obviously hard for Scott on his own last year, where he's trying to do sort of group sessions where he's trying to do everything that's going to benefit the whole team. Whereas this year, obviously, me stepping in to help him, we can split the group up into two and sort of work on different things. There's been a few times at the start of each game, sort of Scott's done a drill with the attackers, I've took the defenders away and done a drill with them just before we kick off. So it's like little bits like that I think are going to help us in the long run.
And obviously we played a couple of, I think one team from our league in pre-season, that was Sandhurst. They've improved, I think, massively in terms of player recruitment, and I think Jordan's done a great job there. What did you take away from that game? Without giving away a game plan for, because we played in 2 weeks time.
I think the reaction after that game in the group chat was a disappointing one. It's a team that we've, over the last sort of few seasons, maybe beaten comfortably. Like you say, that game, they got the result over us. So again, it's going back to the same thing of we need to make sure we're focused and make sure we don't get the disappointment. Like the group chat was, like it was a group chat that was really sort of like real disappointment with how we had played, how we had turned up, our attitude. So it's making sure when it comes to playing them again that all them things are right.
Well, isn't that a coach's job?
Yeah, that's Scott's job. No, yeah, of course it is. It's but then there's only so much a coach can do as well. If the players are turning up thinking that they're going to sort of walk a team over, then maybe it comes to that day, and if there's sort of that, if that is the attitude, it's maybe something me and Scott talk about, and maybe they don't even get into the squad.
Fair enough. And in terms of our fixtures, we've got Hurst as our next game, which is in Burton Bucks. So how do you take something like Burton Bucks? I know when I played for certain teams, we did one or two things. We either chucked in all the players that never got a game and see what happened, or we actually went for it. Is it something that you're going to go for?
Like I say, it's at the start of the season, me and Scotty both turned to each other and said, at the end of the day, we're a team that wants to win stuff, so definitely going for it. So
is that the ambition? If the ambition is to win something this year, would it be disappointing not to come away with something this year?
There's a couple of good cup competitions this year. Burton Bucks is obviously one of the more challenging ones. Obviously it'd be nice if we can get far into that and deep into the rounds. There's a couple of other sort of cup competitions we're in as well that are maybe a bit more of our main focus and something that we can go on to win.
Fantastic. And obviously then going forward, as I said to you before, I mean, we've got quite a big squad, 60, 70 players. How do you manage that?
Me and Scotty sort of sat everyone down and we sort of all agreed that at the end of the day we want to be able to put our best squad out that's available to us at the time. We all want to win something, and it's something that all of the players agree with. So I think sort of everyone knows their sort of position in the team. If sort of players aren't sort of pulling their weight, then it's a team that you can't just expect to walk into anymore. Whereas maybe we've been guilty of that over the last few seasons as well. People just expecting to be in the starting 11.
Yeah, and other things as a coach. I mean, obviously on the sidelines, you do your coaching bits and you turn up. How does your life go when you're not physically involved with football? In terms of, obviously, I know you're probably talking about football every day.
There is me and Scotty are in contact quite a lot. I think why it's still fresh is sort of not sort of hit me that I'm missing football, like being out there and playing too much. Why this is still a new challenge and a new thing. I'm still in the middle of enjoying it for now.
Do you get into Scott's ear and say, look, I should be playing?
Oh, I've tried to strike it loads of times already. all pre-season I wanted to be on that front, and he still didn't give it to me.
Oh, fair play, he's a strong man.
Well, I'm sure I can run my way out into one.
And in terms of obviously Scott himself as a manager, what do you think his greatest assets are as a manager?
I think you can easily say, coming into this sort of team a couple of seasons ago, I sort of come in and it was a team that was in the middle of a sort of building process. I think after that sort of first season, we sort of all agreed that we had become a real sort of together team, that we're in it together. So, and that is down to Scotty, and it's down to a lot of what he's done for us all.
And obviously the ambition is to win something, which obviously I imagine every team in the league has got that ambition right now, is to come in and stuff like that. How do you feel if obviously things go well and the scenario was that you go up to the Prem again? How do you think you're better equipped now than you was last time?
Like I said before, this season is sort of some of the best recruitment I've seen since I've been at the club. We have brought in some real strong players, players that are going to really help push the sort of starting 11 forward, help us with how we want to play, sort of how we want to set up, what we sort of what we want to do. Them sort of players that have come in are players that are going to do that for us, I believe. Yeah.
Obviously, we're hearing at the moment different teams struggling for players and such like. How have you managed to keep players and in fact recruit? And when I've seen that teams are struggling, what's so different?
I think it's credit to what Scott does, just how he sort of helps, how he is around all of us, sort of how we all are as a team. I just think it generally is far to do with him. People just want to come and play or meet up with each other. Everyone's happy to sort of turn up and then go and have a beer or something like that down at the pub after.
I hear the chairman's an absolute top bloke as well.
Well, I don't know who you heard that from.
Obviously, going forward from now, then, Bradley, is how far would you like to take a football career as such?
It's definitely something I want to sort of stick with. Like I say, I'm in the middle of enjoying it still at the moment. I know it's only early, but even while I was doing the youth team, I've loved it. So want to stick with it. And Scotty's mentioned about him possibly leaving over the next couple of seasons. So it's definitely something I'm ready to sort of take on and hopefully move us as a club forward as well.
Okay. And obviously at this moment in time, it's one step at a time as such, and you're only one game into your coaching career as such.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think going out and actually getting badges and such like, do you think that helps in terms of?
I think it will help in terms of sort of the ideas on how you can get ideas across, sort of different training sessions you can do and things like that. I don't think it's a major thing right now, by sort of me and Scotty are working together, but if I was ever to do something on my own, I think it's definitely something worth having.
Okay, and do you think, obviously in the coaching badge scenario, is it something that when you do go and get it, it's obviously a lot of time and a little bit of money as well. Is that something that you're willing to do?
I am willing to do it, like you say. The biggest thing is obviously trying to find the time to do it. With obviously trying to fit in work as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something I would like to do.
Okay. And obviously there'll be other teams that will be looking at this and probably trying to get a bit of an eye see where coaches are as a team.
Yeah.
But what's, if you were general advice to managers and coaches out there? I mean, obviously again you're one game into it, so you're an obvious at it to some degree. But is there any kind of advice to anyone that you'd give to who are looking to coach? Because again, you are young.
It's hard to give advice right now. But I've seen it with sort of adults teams before. I get we're sort of all older and obviously might not make it as a professional. But as teams that their training session is going to Power League. That's their training session. They meet up once a week and it's an hour down at Power League. As a coach, and it's definitely something that Scotty's done with us as well, is we don't really want to be the team that does that. We want to be a team that after a game, if we felt like we've been poor in a certain place or poor in some ways, we want to be able to go onto a training pitch and work on them things to make sure we're improving.
So training is obviously an important thing to you as a football team.
It's funny that you should mention training, because I'm one of the worst trainers out there. I hate training, but as a coach, I'm loving it.
Okay, fair enough. And then they're, yeah, I mean, obviously you saying that, and you probably get something on the head there. Are the players enjoying it?
So far, the reaction's been good. It's the feedback from group chat and sort of players when I've spoke to them individually has been good. They the way Scotty is, he wants to make players work hard. He doesn't want people just to turn up and be sort of strolling around, walking around. Something we started moving up in when we moved up into the Prem was doing doggies, and so that's something that Scott's kept in. And now with me in as well, I'm trying to find out drills that we're working hard, but also it's working on something that's going to help us moving forward as well, and the sort of way we want to play.
Okay. In the leagues, we've got some good managers and such like, and some good teams. Is there anyone that out there you think, yeah, I wish I was a bit like them as a football club?
No.
No? Right,
No.
fair enough. No, that's fair enough. I mean, some people do, they look at you quite...
Honestly, with how this sort of club is, there is nothing that makes me want to go and be with another club. Okay, we haven't won sort of silverware while I've been here yet, but there's always this season for that. And yeah, like I say, with how this club's run and everything this club's about is something that is definitely something that I enjoy.
Good. Yeah, good. And obviously, we're starting the season off now. Let's say we're in December. With Bobbish time, we've probably played half a dozen games. So, what kind of record do you think you should have at that point in time?
An unbeaten one. I'd like to think we'd be in that sort of top 2 or 3. Hopefully, we would be at the top by that stage. But it's the goal I'd say for December is to make sure we're still in it, still in the race.
It sounds very positive at the moment. I mean, the one thing about football, it can come biting the arse. I know that happened last year, so I know that how you guys do deal with it. I mean, what would you do? I mean, how do you deal with the disappointment of say losing a game? Because I know that was something that unfortunately we had to get used to quite a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, with that last season, we were sometimes coming off the games, and the way we had played was like a positive reaction. We was happy with how we had played, although we didn't get the result. Whereas this season, we're trying to become a team that plays that sort of way, but is coming out with 3 points instead. And yeah, it's just making sure the players are on board with sort of everything we're saying. The players know if they're not happy with something we've said, that everyone is welcome to sort of say something in the change room. Like we are a team at the end of the day. We want to win games, and whatever certain people think we need to do is definitely taken on board.
Obviously, one of the things that we noted when, certainly myself and probably Scott noted when you first joined, was you did stand out in terms of you were a bit louder than some of them. You did like barking orders at some of them, and you liked organising some bits and pieces, and so it kind of did make you stick out a little bit. Yeah. In regards to that. Is there...
Still never get any captaincy though.
Not my choice, mate. Is there anything that you look for in terms of players that could step up into coaching? Is there any kind of like formulaic thing that you think, right, if he does this and this, you can get a coach? Or do you think it's just
we're a team that has got a couple of sort of PE teachers in it as well, and there's certain players that I've asked as well, like what sort of things would you do, or how do you think we can work on, or what do you think we can work on? And there's certain players that come up with sort of good feedback. I haven't done loads of that yet, obviously I'm still quite new to it, so still trying to get my ideas across as well. But it's making sure the players are feeling like what I'm doing is sort of working before I sort of give them any ideas on sort of how they can do moving forward. So
on that note then, how do you feel about negative feedback from players? Would they be able to tell you that? Is it something they can actually come to you and say,
yeah.
I thought their session was rubbish today? Would you take that well, or will you?
Well, there was a few sessions last year. Like I say, I'm not one for training, and I don't think I really put in the effort for training last year. But there's certain ones that I didn't enjoy, and I think I told Scotty about it. So I'd like to think players are going to soon give that to me.
Oh, okay. And you're happy for that to happen, are you?
But if players don't feel like it's benefiting them, then it's sort of wasting their time. They've obviously been to work at that day, and then we're sort of training on a Thursday evening. Don't want players coming away thinking, well, why have I just turned up for that?
Yeah.
We want to make sure we're progressing and moving forward.
So, on that note, how much time do you think you would actually put in thinking about a training session? Obviously, I know that you have come with specific ideas, and I've seen some of the training sessions that you've done in the last few weeks, and they do look quite impressive as such. So,
I don't have to say it just because I'm here.
Well, I would. But all jokes to one side, though, is it something that you spend a lot of time on?
Yeah, it was quite funny actually. Early on in the week, I was sort of sat there and had my book out and I was watching videos or sort of coming up with ideas on what we can do within the Thursday session. I mean, we'd only had played the game on the Saturday, and by Monday I'm already thinking about training, which is a weird one because, like I say, as a player, I was not looking forward to training. I just wanted to be in matches. And even speaking to Scott, like on the Monday, we was calling each other straight away, calling each other on the Wednesday, calling each other on the Thursday to make sure we've got the exact same ideas on what drills we're going to do in training. So there is a lot of time that is being put into the sessions, which is why I think the boys are enjoying it as well.
Good stuff. And when you go into a session and you basically put something together, how do you know if it's working? I mean, obviously, I'll say how do you know it's working well, but there's a reaction, isn't there? What would you do if the reaction wasn't great? Would you change it fairly quickly?
I mean, it's hard to tell if training is properly working at the moment. We've obviously only played one sort of competitive game. I think once we get a bit further on to the season, after a few more games, if hopefully results are still going our way, but if they were to turn and go the other way, then I think that's when I'll start to question what I'm doing in training.
Right, buddy. I mean, one last question with regards to it all. If you were to choose between playing and coaching, what would you do?
At the moment, I would say coaching is probably just about up there. It's like, again, it goes back to the leadership thing. I love being the one that's involved. I love being able to sort of be that leader. I enjoy giving out drills and getting players to work on certain things, and yeah, it's a real enjoyment there at the moment.
Fantastic. Bradley, thank you very much for your time today, much appreciated.
Thank you.
For those of you who see our podcast or Poaches Cast, please like and subscribe. Just want to say a quick thank you to all our sponsors, Electric Garden, Cluck Chicken, Val Nutrition, and also the Stags. There's a lot of them nowadays. But yes, please like, subscribe, and look forward to our next one. Thank you.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain.